Yes, the sun came up the day after the Chiefs lose, and they're about to get back down to business. Who had the letdowns? Who had the comebacks today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. You can get your season started right now. New customers get $5 bets. They can earn them $150 in bonus bets just if you win that first $5 bet. Get after it over at FanDuel.com and get started. We're going to get started upon further review, the little things about this game that stood out. That's coming up later in the show. We'll get to the comebacks and the letdowns. Who needs to change things up? And we will start with, obviously, it's a new day. It's a new week. Chiefs are still on top of the AFC. Where do they go from here? He's Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. I'm Ryan Tracy from NFL 33 and RGR Football. We have a ton doing this back and forth. It's like mesh here all day long, folks. Check out our other sites where you're going to get a lot of different information, as well as our text line at 816-357-8781. A lot to get in here.
I was just going to say mesh can lead to offensive pass interference. Just going to throw that out there.
Okay, that absolutely can. Doesn't seem like they want to call it recently, but it certainly could lead to that. Upon digging through this game a little bit more, I think the thing that stands out is, once again, the sense of urgency wasn't as totalitarian as it needed to be. Yes, they wanted to beat the Bills, but this is, again, a team that is used to playing 20-game seasons and just didn't sell out to make this win. Could they have elevated their game to an A level to win this game? I do think that they could have. Maybe it would have taken a little bit more immediacy. Maybe it would have taken a little bit different play call. I do believe that. But it clearly, when you look at the snap counts and who played where and when, was not the, hey, win at all costs kind of game. It was, we're going to play our best game we played today with our play call. We're not going to hog wild to take out the Bills right now. We're just going to be us. That came up short. But what stood out to you?
DeAndre Hopkins getting less than 50% of the snaps stands out to me. I would have thought that just because he is probably, I would say, easily wide receiver one on this offense, and he got less than 50% of the snaps. That stands out. Juju also got less than 50%. That doesn't shock me, but he only got 6 snaps less than DeAndre Hopkins did. Maybe they're going to be splitting it between those two because they do similar things. That's possible. But at the same time, I really think you could have used Hopkins out there a little bit more, and I like what Juju brings to the table, so I think you can have them both on the field and still be productive. The other thing that really stands out to me, and I know a lot of people want to give a hard time to Xavier Worthy, and I want to be clear on this. I said this on X yesterday. Yes, he needs to get his feet down, but that was a bad throw. And the thing that really stands out is past that throw, he didn't get a single target after that. That's a problem. You can't make that throw and miss it and then not go back to the guy, because he played over 50% of the snaps. Yeah. He was on the field a lot. You have to use him, and you have to use his speed, and it has to be more than just a decoy.
I agree, and that certainly was the point of the game. I'll explain that why, but kudos to you. You had to go explain to me and break it down and convince me that was more on Patrick than it was on Xavier, and on review, you were absolutely correct. The problem for me is there was no reason for it. It was not a play that was super, super crazy. And that brings me back to the urgency, the game plan. And the more that I just reflected on what's happened in the last 36 hours, 48 hours, the more that I feel like the Chiefs walked in to play the Bills and they were Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul. They're just going to use their jab, keep their hands up, not get hurt, and they weren't too worried about it. You know what I mean? They didn't go out of their way. They didn't press the action. You know? They clearly degraded D-Hop. Yeah, well, I appreciate that. They clearly degraded D-Hop and Juju, and they made a specific push towards Xavier. I completely agree with you. If he makes a mistake like that, if you have a connection that doesn't go, you can't walk away from it. But like, he was on 27 snaps, 26 routes run. So,
Yep.
I mean, it was a concerted effort. The only guy that ran as many routes or nearly as many routes as him was Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. It was a condensed Xavier and the tight ends kind of game plan. And that's why I feel like it was just jabs and weren't really looking to exploit.
Well, and my bigger problem is they used it so much and they used it so well on their touchdown drive. And then they come back and the Chiefs have a pattern, and I'm guessing teams are going to figure this out, but they tend to run plays where they're going to take shots immediately after getting the ball back from a kickoff, or I guess it could be even a punt. But if you remember back to Xavier Worthy's touchdown against the Chargers, it was the first play after getting the ball. I can't remember if it was a punt or if it was a kickoff, but it was first down. They took a shot. This one was first down. They took a shot. And if you go back and watch it, and this is why I said that it's on Mahomes more than it's on Worthy. Yes, he needs to get his feet down. But if you go back and watch it, when Mahomes releases the ball, Worthy almost still has his foot on the hash mark. There's no reason, and there was nobody on the inside of Worthy. Everybody was behind him, and he was almost even with the safety that was closest. There is no reason to put that ball on the sideline. And if you watch that play closely, you'll watch Mahomes right as he's releasing the ball, instead of stepping to where he wants to throw it, he steps to the left, steps out, and that's what brought his body around. And I think that's why he missed it outside versus hitting it down the middle or down the part of the field. All he has to do is throw it inside the numbers or just outside the numbers, even, and it's a walk-in touchdown. Nobody's going to catch Worthy in that play.
I agree.
But my bigger issue isn't that they did that. My bigger issue is they didn't go back to him. You can't get him involved in the offense and then not go back to him later. And it's kind of the same thing a little bit in the running game. Is you got Kareem Hunt involved early, and then you went away from the running game. And I know they didn't have a lot of chances because they had a bunch of 3-and-outs, but you have to find a way to continue to get rhythm. You have to find a way to continue to move the sticks and at least get a first down or two. I think that's really what happened to the defense late, is they just didn't get enough stops. The defense was exhausted, and it cost them at the end.
I agree. And I think I know why this happened, and I think I know what the outcome was, and I think I understand where they're at mentally. We're going to get to that coming up next.
Pre-alcohol probiotic drink by Z-Biotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Here's how to use it. Step 1, drink pre-alcohol. For best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. Step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use LockedOnNFL at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off.
Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers, you can bet just $5 and you get $150 back in bonus bets if you win right now. FanDuel Sportsbook, the app, gives you everything that you need to get bets in place for the NFL all in one place. So when you got a hunch in the middle of the game, you want to check out the latest stats, you live by that play-by-play, you can do that and much more on the same page right where you place your bets. Visit FanDuel.com today and join. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 and official sportsbook partner of the NFL. There's a lot of ways that you can make contributions. I do feel everybody made the contribution the Chiefs were looking for. I think the coaching staff is just down to the point that, especially against AFC opponents that they know they're likely to face in the postseason, they're just not giving it away. They just don't care we're going to do as little as possible to get a win. We're going to keep it close, and we're not going to let our toys out of the bag until the postseason. I believe that is the cornerstone of this ballgame, and honestly, most of them, to the point that maybe I should just shut up about analyzing anything until the postseason. Who knows? But they got a couple of pieces of information out of it, right? They know that they can continue to run the ball and that they pretty much have to. I felt like that was a takeaway. You have to continue to work on your protection. And attrition for the pass rushers across the league may actually help you as the season goes on, as you try to get your left tackle position sorted out and improved, whoever that may be. And as you try to get coordinated across a little bit of everything, this mid part of the season, especially, and it irked me in the post-game interview where Josh Allen can say, hey, we're 9-2 and we're going into the bye. You know what? There's no rest in sight for the Chiefs. So it is just keep it basic until you hit January, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and the problem is they face a team in the Panthers that most could say that this would be a trap game because you just got through with a game against the Bills. It's a huge game in the conference. You're probably one of your most hated rivals. I'd say they're way up there. And then you have the Raiders on Thanksgiving, on the day after Thanksgiving. So this is a trap game with the Panthers. And I know we're talking about the Bills game, but my point is they have to stay focused. They have to not look past this Panthers team because you cannot afford to take a dumb loss at this time of year. You just took a loss against the Bills. You need to focus and you need to say, okay, we're going to go out and we're going to beat the Panthers team. This game shouldn't be close. I think it probably still will be because that's the way the Chiefs play. And I agree with you to an extent. I do think that they're keeping it as vanilla as they possibly can. The reason I believe that is go back and watch their touchdown in the fourth quarter. That tempo and their attacking was completely different than just about any other point in the game. Mahomes said, okay, we're down. We need to be urgent. We need to get after it. And they went down and they scored almost immediately. This team has the ability to do that. It's not going to be something that they're going to do every single play or every single down because that's not the urgency they're going to show, and they don't want teams to prepare for it and get ready for it when it really matters. And I do think that there is something to that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It's got to be a small step forward. So who took those? Well, your champion of yards per route run on this ball game is Peyton Hendershot, 1 reception for 11 yards. And a guy that I thought made a couple of other plays. I shouted him out last night, but I do want to say again, I think the combination of what we've been hoping Wiley would become, and then you got Jody back for a little bit. It feels like it may be coming to fruition where there's a true third on this roster that they can go to as the season progresses beyond just Noah Gray, who had to step up huge yesterday. I like having that trio out there.
Yeah, and Hendershot had a great catch in traffic, and that's one of those types of catches that not a lot of these Chiefs receivers have made for Mahomes. So him being able to go get a contested catch was important, especially considering there was, I think, at least 3 players around him, and if he bats that ball up, it's likely a turnover as opposed to him catching it and being down at the 1 or 2 yard line, wherever it was. Regardless, he's played well. I think that he's been a good addition to this team. When you start talking about letdowns, you flip it over to the defensive side of the ball, and anybody not named Chris Jones that was trying to rush the passer to me was a letdown because you cannot have 0 sacks against Josh Allen with a backup right tackle and feel good about it, in my opinion. Yeah, you can get pressures. Yeah, you can get hurries. It wasn't enough to affect the outcome, and you have to be able to get hits and get him down to affect the game. And they continuously allowed 3rd down conversions, which really hurt him.
I agree with you, but I will say Josh Uche only got 5 opportunities or 4 opportunities.
That's
to rush
another problem.
Agreed. And that rotation is going to be problematic even more when Charles Omenihu returns. But I do think what I saw when he did, he wasn't able to get any pressure. But he is still pressing the outside shoulder of the tackles. He is still keeping them on their toes. He is the point now in terms of the speed rush of the attack, which then I think can, and probably in the postseason will, cause more problems for offensive lines trying to attack this front. So while he didn't produce a whole lot of pressure this game, I do think he's capable. I think he's becoming more comfortable. And as they round into it, I think he's a guy that has to get more reps along with Omenihu next to Chris Jones. And I'm really looking forward to see what that looks like.
Well, it's going to be curious because if that's the direction they go, who are they going to sit down? Dan is their starter. I don't think that's going to change. So are you going to take out? I mean, FAU, I think, has shown that he deserves some snaps. So I guess you're going to sit here, Herring, which I'm okay with. But at the same time, that's a different type of player, and you need that type of player. So Omenihu is going to have to basically take some of the snaps, or FAU is going to have to take more of the snaps from Herring. One of the two is going to have to step into that role, and that's fine. But I agree with you. Uche didn't get enough chances. I think he had 5 snaps total, which means you made 2 midseason trades, and they only got 31 snaps. The Bills had what, 73, I think, snaps on offense. Uche got 5. DeAndre Hopkins had 26 snaps, and they had 55 snaps on offense. You can't have that be those two types of players. And I understand Uche isn't a guy that's going to come in and get a ton of snaps, but there was enough 3rd and long situations where they didn't put him in, and that, I think, really hampered them getting pressure on Josh.
Yeah, I agree. 3rd and long should be looking so the Chiefs don't have to blitz as much. You can get 5-man pressure if you just overload the line and let Uche be out there with Charles and Chris and Mike Dana and George Karlaftis. That's the package I want to see as soon as Omenihu's back on the field. We'll see what it looks like. There are a couple other little nuggets here that we have to tease out. So we have the tiny specks that grow into gems. They're in there, and we're going to get to them right after this. Where are my renters at? Ever feel like you're stuck in that loop of constant rent payments, just watching your money vanish into thin air? It's time to turn that rent game around, start earning some serious rewards. That's where Built Rewards comes in. Built is breaking ground as a neighborhood rewards program that hooks you up with points on your rent. Every month you pay rent and watch the Built points roll in. You can use your points to book fitness studio classes, redeem them toward a future rent payment. They're even designed to meet your lifestyle. Pay rent hassle-free through the Built Rewards app. Your rent just got a major upgrade. Built points have been consistently ranked as the highest point value currency by the Points Guy and Bankrate. Earn points by paying your rent right now when you go and join built.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure that it's joinbilt.com/LockedOnNFL. Make sure that you use that URL so that you know that we sent you. Built.com/LockedOnNFL to start earning your reward points right now on your written payment. It's the little things that make the difference in ball games. And I do think one thing stood out to me in a negative way that I'd like to see them correct. You can complain all you want, but there are certain matchups that cause you some grief. And I know Joshua Williams has not played terribly well this season, but unless Jalen Watson can make a critical recovery before the playoff run, which he has been a little bit more positive on social media lately, we'll see what he can do physically. I do think that it's time now to not say that we have a CB2 or a CB3 and just go by matchups. Because I think, especially with Cooper making circus catches out there, because he has a large physical frame, he has long, big hands that can get away from his body. I do feel it put Najee Johnson in a bit of a precarious position to begin with. And maybe you should have changed it up and given him a little bit of a physical presence of Williams to try to at least, beat him up at the line or something. I would have liked to seen that switch up, and I hope they do going forward.
They got to figure something out. Najee was picked on, and it is going to be a problem if they don't figure something out to give him some help or switch it out and bring Joshua Williams in and, double more or do whatever they need to do. You're absolutely right. They need to get the corner situation figured out. And I know there are people out there that are, saying that they should have never traded L'Jarius Sneed. I'm sorry. I can't go there because they had Jalen Watson. You can't figure that an injury is going to happen and take out one of your best players. And Watson was having a year similar to what Sneed had last year to an extent. I'm not going to say he was the same type of shutdown guy, but he was having a very good season. So where does that leave Kansas City right now? I don't think that you should think that they're going to be able to go out and get a corner that's going to be able to step in and really help them throughout the rest of the season. So they have to figure out how they're going to get by the rest of the year. I agree with you. I think Josh Williams needs to be out there and get some snaps, and it probably is going to be matchup dependent. The nice thing is you're getting ready to go in, like I said earlier, against a team in the Panthers who have a quarterback in Bryce Young who is not a great quarterback, and his weapons aren't going to be fantastic. So this is a matchup that you should be able to get somebody some snaps, get Josh Williams some snaps, get him acclimated in this defense a little bit more. So maybe you can rotate guys in more. Because you're going to have some tough matchups down the stretch. You're going to have the Steelers still to come. You still have the Texans still to come. You're going to have the Raiders, which is going to be a little bit of a problem when you start talking about having 2 tight end sets. So you have to figure out how you're going to start defending that as well. There's lots of things that they need to build towards, and getting the corner situation is something that they got to get figured out.
Let me go back to L'Jarius for a minute. I just double checked real quick. He is not going to play against the Houston Texans this week. He has not played in several weeks. In fact, he has played a grand total of 303 snaps this season in 5 contests. That is it. That's the reason L'Jarius Sneed is not here. It's not the money. It's not his attitude. It's not anything else. It's the fact that his body is not what it was when he came into the league, and he cannot be counted on to be there for you for another 20-game season. The Chiefs got the best out of L'Jarius Sneed. I don't know if he'll ever be the same, but he isn't ready to be on the field right now either.
Yeah, and they know. I mean, they knew his knee. That was the big thing. Is they knew his knee. They knew going into the season that he couldn't do what they wanted him to do. That's why he wasn't practicing in training camp last year. That's why he didn't basically practice in training camp this year. So Kansas City is going to be in a better situation because they traded him, and they have all the money that they saved by not having him on the franchise tag. They were able to use to bring in other guys. So that's going to help them. And I get why people wish that Sneed was still here. He played fantastic, and Spagnuolo knew how to use him. It just hasn't been the same this year. But the other thing that you have to really look at is the offensive line does need to be better. We've talked about it at different times. Jawan Taylor had a rough game. Wanya Morris, I thought, had a rough game. If you go back and look at the Worthy long play, that was dialed up. Travis Kelce, and I believe that even the running back were blocking on that specific play. They needed 2 extra blockers to take on. I don't even remember how many Buffalo had rushing the quarterback. I think it was 4 or 5. If you're going to do that, that's fine. But then you have to hit those shots. You can't just quit taking those shots, because the problem with that play is 2 plays later, they ended up on, going 3 and out, and they ended up punting the ball away. And, we've said this at times, Mahomes needs to be better, and turning the ball over on the second play of the game really cost Kansas City. I'm not going to say it cost them the game, but if he makes better throws in a couple of different situations, I don't think this is a 2-score game at the end. I think Kansas City has a chance to go and win it, and it's a 1-score game. But with the turnover early and the way he played and missed some shots late, I mean, it's really hard. The other thing that we ought to give credit to, I know we didn't get a chance to kick a field goal, but I thought the kicker did a good job for coming in and being a new guy on this roster. Put the ball through the uprights, actually put it over the net, I think, each and every time, which I was pretty impressed with, and then did well on kickoffs as well. I think there's only one that he gave them a chance, and I'm not sure if that was him missing it or that was Tobe's idea to do that. And before we leave today, I think we'll be remiss without saying they brought in Tyquan Thornton, which is another guy that has under 4.3 speed in this read offense, will be added to the practice squad. I don't expect that we'll see him next week or maybe in the next couple, but I would think that he could be somebody that they could bring up and do some different things with in the playoffs or at the end of the season.
Yeah, I think that's very, very possible. Yeah, we're going to have to see what that role turns out to be. But I agree with you. You have to continue to do it. It has to start with the protection. My guy Steele, while I thought he carried the ball fine, he was not good on pass protection. Blew at least one big play where he did not cover all the way to the outside against a free rusher. You are taught to take the inside man, but not when it's a double. You got to take anybody that's free, and that's the way that it works. Kudos to Kareem Hunt. He actually graded out above 3 of the offensive linemen in pass block. So
that's brutal.
Got to keep him moving. Samaje Perine, it is. And that is just a symptom of where it is against that particular defensive front. And I always tell people, it's not just how good they are. Sometimes you just have matchup issues against a team. Bills will be one of those teams, and they're going to have to get their stuff sorted.
Yeah, the other thing that we have to consider is that this offense is about to get a big player back. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco is going to make this offense different. Uh, Juju is going to make this offense different. I think he was still recovering a little bit. I don't think that they gave him the snaps that they probably will going forward. And DeAndre Hopkins is going to be more involved. But being able to run the ball with Juju and Pacheco, which it sounds like he's probably going to be available this week if they want him to play, is going to change the way this Chiefs offense is going to be able to operate. And having two guys that can run the ball effectively is going to give you the ability to try to pound the ball a little bit more. And I'm sure that Ryan is going to appreciate that because that's what Ryan likes to see.
Makes me happy. There was a nice piece just as a final shout out today, another little nugget. Nice piece by Ted Wynn on The Athletic about how the wing tee is coming back, and it's the basis for a lot of these plays that we're seeing around the league, including Matt Nagy's inside shovel handoffs. The pendulum is swinging back towards the run. It is a more viable portion of offense in today's league than it was 2 seasons ago. Let's hope that it keeps going that way because the Chiefs have put themselves in position to take advantage of it.
But why is that? The big key there, it is something that's more viable now, but the reason is because you have so many more defenses that are running 2 safety looks, 2 deep safeties. That is the reason that it's swinging back. And that we look back at how Mahomes played in 2018, 2019, he's seen a lot of single high safeties in those years. Not so much lately. So you have to take advantage of it when you get the single high looks or when you have a guy that turns the safety around. You have to take advantage of that. That is specifically Taylor Rapp on that long ball. If they can get that figured out, it's going to be a huge boon to this offense. Sorry.
You're absolutely right. And it's also something that we should feel good about in the future because the pendulum will come and it will swing back again. Before Patrick Mahomes' career is over, everyone will be trying to stop the run again, packing boxes and having single high safeties. So we will get back to the glory days. You just got to have the horses to run with them when it does. So not only is this not a day to be sad about what just happened to the Chiefs, it's also a day not to be sad about the future. It is coming. Let's keep them on track. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you guys.
All I was going to say is they're still the number 1 seed in the AFC. They still control their own destiny. At the end of the day, with the win over the Broncos 2 weeks ago, that's all that really matters. They control their own destiny. They have the chance to still get a first-round bye, which would be huge for this team considering how early their bye was.
Yeah. Don't fall down. That's all you got to do. Keep it up. All right. Have a great night, folks. Thank you for being with us. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell. Tomorrow, it's Matt and Derek. The day after that is our crossover. Friday, we preview the ball game, and we are off and running for another live stream post-game. Be with us for all of them. Make sure you like, sub, and hit that bell. We'll talk to you tomorrow.